The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview. After the 3-0 victory over Leicestershire City, we now turn our attention to the home fixture against Manchester United. I'm Scott, I'm your host for this one, and this week I'm joined by Matty, Andy and Daryl. Boys.
Hello.
It's placed now, Champions League football. It's been confirmed. It's all to play for. Are we excited yet? Are we excited? Are we getting ahead of ourselves that we could have that Champions League theme playing at St James's Park again next season, or are we not counting our chickens yet?
I'm seeing some people online saying if we don't qualify for the Champions League, it's a disappointing season.
Oh my God.
I need all these people to be put into a room together and a grenade thrown in.
That is mental.
Ridiculous.
That is absolutely mental. That's why I don't go on Twitter anymore.
It's been 3 weeks. He's still got Eddie Hill behind him. Well, I think he's frozen. He's on satellite delay. He's gone. Anyway, this is the match preview for the Man U away game. It is on Sunday, the 13th of April. It's a 4:30 kickoff at St James's Park, and it is live on Sky for those of you who didn't win the ballot, like myself, yet again. Man U. And you, and I know you boys are season ticket holders, aren't you? Yes, these are lovely chaps. Oh, it's going to be one of them tonight. I can tell it already. Man U aren't doing that well. I mean, they haven't been doing well for a few years, but they're doing especially bad this season. 13th in the league on 38 points. That's 10 wins, 8 draws, and 13 defeats. They've scored 37 goals and conceded 41. That puts them on a -4 goal difference for those of you who like the quick maths. Got a few commentator stats, only a few, not much going on for this one, but Newcastle have won 11 of their last 15 Premier League games, losing 4, starting with a 4-0 win over Leicester and obviously finishing with a 3-0 win over Leicester. That was on the 14th of December. Only Liverpool have more points in the competition with 38 over Newcastle's 33 since that time. So we're not doing too badly since, when was it? When did I say? 14th of December. So we've had a good period of games running up to now, and long may it continue. Since Ruben Amorim's first game in charge of Man U, only Leicester, and this isn't a Leicester preview by the way, but only Leicester have failed to score in more Premier League games than Man U. Leicester has been 12 and Man U have been 8, so they don't seem to be picking up many goals. And following the 2-0 victory at Old Trafford in December, Newcastle are looking to complete their first league double over Man U. Can anybody tell me when that last league double was?
19.
It's going to be black and white.
39.
Oh, close, Matty. 1930 to 1931. You were in the right decade.
Never mind.
And finally, a win or a draw on Sunday would see Newcastle go 4 Premier League home games undefeated against Man U for the first time in their history, beating the current record of 3, which was this season. Well, currently we hold that record because we're currently 3 in a row, and also 1999 to 2002, where it was 2 wins and 1 draw. Right, that's all that out of the way with. Let's talk business. I want to start by talking about 2 of our players, and then we'll talk a little bit about Man U. Matty, mate, Joe Linton and Dan Burn are 1 yellow card away from a suspension. They've got 2 games left to go until that's wiped off. Can they do it? Can they do a Bruno Guimaraes of last season and avoid the referee's book? We'll talk about the ref later on. Obviously, Dasmo's got his ref watch to do, but can they do it?
I'll be astounded.
I think is the big one.
Yeah, I'll be astounded if we get through with both of them not doing it. I think obviously it's not a hot take to say that Joe Linton probably is the man who's probably going to get that yellow card. It's good that we could take him off in the Leicester game. I think there wasn't much danger of him getting involved in anything. It was just a case of keeping him fit, keeping him fresh for the weekend. But yeah, I can't see him getting through these next 2 games. I think the Man United game and the Palace game, the few days after this, are going to be physical games. Yes, they're at home, but I just think they're going to struggle. I don't think there's any other way you can put it. There's not much analysis that can go into it. Joe Linton is Joe Linton. He takes some silly yellows. He takes some yellows that we're happy for him to take, just because he imposes himself on the game in such a physical way. Dan Burn, you feel like the only way he's going to get a yellow card is through mistakes. I feel like a lot of his yellow cards this season have just been tactical fouls where someone's got the better of him, so he'll just pull them back, late challenges, things like that. So if we can defend well, then I'd have some sort of confidence that Dan Burn can get through these 2 games without getting a 2-match suspension. But I certainly don't have much hope in Joe Linton doing so. And that's no slight against the guy, it's just the type of player that he is. But going into this pivotal part of the season, the players that you don't want to be without, given how thin on the ground our squad's looking at the moment and the numbers on the bench not being the healthiest they've been in a while. Yeah,
it's going to be tough, especially I think with Joe Linton being out, we've got a bit of cover, Andy. We've got obviously, it's not the cover you necessarily want, but we do have cover. We've got, I'm not going to, speak badly about the players, but they're not like for like cover in the middle with, you've got Shaw Longstaff, Lewis Miley, and at a push you've got Joe Willock, but he hasn't looked right all season, if we're being honest. Centre back, I don't think we've got anyone really. You've got Emil Kraft, which is a square peg and a round hole, really, because he is a right back at trade. Botman's not yet back fit, and Lascelles is nowhere near fit yet, I don't think. So, you're kind of counting on it. If it's going to be one of the 2, you're kind of wanting it to be Joe Linton over Dan Burn, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think Joe Linton was one of these earlier in the season when we were struggling, where he was being questioned a little bit as well. I think off the ball, he does his thing. He clatters everyone. He roars. He gets himself about. But I think on the ball, he was one of these that was being a bit sloppy. And there was times where we thought maybe we want someone like Miley on as more of a controller, someone that can keep possession a bit better than him. But that whole run leading up to the cup final and the periods, the game since, he's looked absolutely immense again. He's that player that can do everything. He can take the ball, barge people off it, legally and illegally, and also go up the other end and create things as well. So for me, he's a bigger miss than Burn. But I mean, Burn and Joe Linton, as are many players this year, are both potentially player of the season contenders because of the way things have been going. So Burn, I mean, you only have to watch a few videos on this channel in the past to know that he's a very divisive character amongst just our lot, never mind the whole wider fan base. But he's been immense as well. I would echo what Matty said there. I think it's going to be a tough ask because it's later in the season. People are going to really struggle with the legs. All it takes is one little mistake, one little, you bugger, you've got away from me, I'll just clip you, and that's it over. But I think this whole period is just showing how thin the squad is going into the end of the season. The first 11 is amazing. We couldn't fault them at all, really. But then all you have to do is look 1 or 2 positions on the bench, and suddenly it's like, bloody hell, we are still really feeling the effects of Mike Ashley. It's crazy.
I can just picture Joe Linton going, "Oh, you bugger, you got away from us." I bet you that's exactly what he says on the pitch.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to keep it clean.
Keep it clean. Absolutely.
I don't know any swear words in Brazilian, Portuguese.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he does. Talk a little bit about Man U. Obviously, they've got a big game tomorrow night at time recording, Thursday, against Lyon in the Conference League. Are they in? I can't remember which one.
Europa League. Europa League.
Europa. Europe. Obviously, they knocked us out of it. Well, they stole the position from us in that by winning the FA Cup. How dare they? Last year, they didn't knock us out. But do you think that's going to have any effect on them going into the weekend? Are they going to have probably more of an eye on that game than on the league? I think it's a bit of a write-off for them this season in the Premier League, being 13th and the performances that they've had. Is that going to be like their last kind of ditch at any form of success this season, that competition? Do you think that's the thing that they think they can win?
Yeah, I probably think so. I mean, you're looking at their league position, they've got nothing else to play for but win that competition. and getting through Lyon to do that first. It's always interesting to see them going. It's going to be a tough game for them going away from home for the first leg. Lyon are quite a competent side, and with anybody that will be watching this might have seen the little war words that's gone on between Vidic and Onana in the build up to this game. But it's one of these things that we can take advantage of. There'll be questions about how fit, or not necessarily how fit, but how tired will they be having gone through this game on Thursday night. We've had all this rest for the best part of a week since Monday night, and again, it'll be one of these where we've had the number at St James's recently. You mentioned it with the commentator stats earlier on, and I think it's one of these games where we should be really happy and really confident going into it, thinking that we can get the result.
Yeah, and Matty, Daryl's mentioned about rest that we've had. You could argue even Monday night, we didn't really get out of first or second gear through that entire game. It was pretty much done and dusted within 30 minutes. And let's be honest, the players didn't really break a sweat through that game. You could treat most of that as a rest as well. It's only in good stead for us going into the game at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we've seen. I mean, sometimes it's a sort of dragged out trope about teams that were playing at the weekend having Europe midweek and how they might be tired. However, I think most famous win in 70 years might back it up on the other side that Liverpool were a bit tired from that PSG game. Granted, they did go 120 minutes to penalties and suffer a couple of injuries, including one big one against Trent Alexander-Arnold. And let's hope that something like that happens to Man U tomorrow night. Obviously Wednesday at the time of filming, so they haven't played yet. I mean, just speaking on Man United, I mean, recently I would say that as much as they're having this terrible season and they're breaking records at the wrong end of the table, recently I think they've played pretty well. I think, over the last two games they've conceded one goal to a very good Notts Forest side, but largely I thought in that game they were the much better side and were just unlucky enough.
They had like 70% possession in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Forest operate, but
at their place as well, at Forest, at the City ground, and then you go to the Man City game, and the more than held their own in a pretty drab affair. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like they're coming around a little bit. I mean, they've got this quarter final against Lyon by absolutely smashing Sociedad 4-1. There was some weird points in that game, but the 4-1 against a really good Sociedad side, it can't be sniffed at. And yeah, hopefully that with their sort of reinvigorated form, they're going to be really thinking about this Europa League, because let's face it, it'll be very Man U because of how bad they've been recent seasons, yet they've still won silverware, to go on and win the Europa League and get in the Champions League somehow. So they'll be really concentrating on that, and hopefully that's got their heads turned a little bit, and they'll be putting all their effort into tomorrow night to try and get through against Lyon, and Sunday can be a bit of a we'll see what happens, because let's face it, they're not going to get anything in the league. So hopefully that works in our favour. But it's hard to ignore the fact that Man United are starting to string things together a little bit. Maybe not, we're not going to write headlines about it, but I think it's definitely going to be a big challenge on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think, Andy, that's one of the criticisms that Man U faced a lot this season is they've been playing some okay football, but they just can't seem to put the ball in the back of the net. I think, we mentioned it earlier in the commentator stats. They're, since the new manager came in, it's only Leicester who've scored less goals than them. And they're struggling. They're struggling to just find that killer instinct, which is something that we struggled with earlier on in this season. And, we've turned our form around a bit, but it doesn't seem like they've got that killer instinct up front who can, take a game by a scruff of the neck and score those goals for them. They seem to be relying on goals from all over the pitch when they do eventually come.
Yeah, I think in a strange sort of way, they've had similar problems to us. Obviously, I mentioned Mike Ashley twice in one preview, which is bizarre. But in terms of historic mismanagement, obviously, it's all relative, but they quite rightly wanted the Glazers out because they've been horrifically managed as a club. But I don't think they've ever really replaced Van Persie as a striker. They've always tried to they had that period of time where they got like Falcao and Di Maria, and then they ended up with Cavani, and they've always just kind of tried to shoehorn these superstars in, and it's never really worked. I feel quite sorry for Højlund and Xerxes and these young'uns that play for Man United, because they're in such a horrific, toxic environment for a young player. Really, Højlund should be someone that plays second fiddle to Isak and he can learn from and he can come in games and have a bit of confidence. But he's just, unfortunately, he's in a team, and there's a few players you could say that for, people like Garnacho as well. They're just in a team where there's too many weak links. They're still relying on Casemiro. They're still chucking Harry Maguire up front randomly in games. I watched the game against Forest, and obviously we were wanting Man United to win that game, which is another strange thing to think about. Normally, if we were doing that in the past, that would be to stay up rather than for Champions League places.
Yeah.
But there. I think there's a bit of a difference in atmosphere from what I've seen online and just in things that you see on TV. I think Amorim's got the respect of the fans a lot more than Ten Hag did. I think that's mainly because he's come in and he's been absolutely brutal about the state of everything. He said, "Look, this is an absolute shower. I'll sort it out." And we were talking about the Europa League being a way to save their season. He famously had that interview where he said, "Do you see the Europa League as a chance to save the season?" And he went, "No, nothing can save our season." He's very much just. He's just. I think they probably appreciate that brutal nature and how he's obviously playing like Rashford. He hasn't been afraid to say, "You're not the man for Man United. Get out." And I think they just need a big purge come the end of the season. But if that can just wait a little bit while we're getting class, that would be ideal.
Absolutely. I think Daryl, Man U fans maybe also have to accept that they've tried the superstar managers, they've tried the superstar players. That hasn't worked for them. And, you brought in, the Ten Hags of the world and all that sort of stuff as well, who've, come with reputations, and that hasn't worked for them either. And I think some of that's maybe's got to now do with, we've got this guy in and he is speaking the language that we like, but also we've got no one else really to turn to because we've tried everything else. Like, we kind of just have to stick our twist with this guy because what else do we do after this? Like, we have to get behind him. And I think they've just had to have that kind of take a step back and think, we're not the big club we're still a big club, but we're not in the position where we were in the past. We're 13th in the league, and when he took over, I think we're even worse. I think we're down like 15th in the league. Maybe, I don't know the exact numbers, but, I think the Man U fans have just had to go, okay, let's take a bit of humble pie here, just assess the situation, and let's just get behind him and see what he can do, as opposed to, what we've done in the past and just slate the manager week in, week out and whatever, because he's not getting the results that they feel they are entitled to almost just because of the name Manchester United.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. Was like him coming in. I certainly mentioned it in our WhatsApp group, I think, and like when he first came in and he gave that brutally honest assessment of where he thought the club was and the squad. I likened it to when David Moyes came in down the road there and told them straight out blankly that they were in a relegation fight a game into the season. And again, it's a very similar scenario. And for me, I'm actually quite surprised that it's been absorbed as well as it has, that comment, because you wonder if Ratcliffe didn't have as much control as he does now, I think that if the Glazers had full control, he would have been out the door again already, and they would have been our third manager of the season, because they need to give this time, because they simply, I don't think anybody can disagree here. They can't afford to. They haven't got the resources to do it. They can't afford to sack him. Can't afford to hire somebody else on big bucks.
Well, they can afford a £2 trillion stadium that looks like something out of Wakanda.
You not paying for that, aren't you?
Yeah, we're paying for it. That's it. Yeah, we're taxpayers are paying for that bugger. But yeah, I mean, I think it's quite admirable that the Man United fans have got behind Amorim as a result of this, and it's what they've needed to do. You wonder if they'd given some of the other previous managers this much gratitude and time, if they could have turned it round. And like you said before, like Andy said, there's gonna have to be some sort of massive purge in the summer to try and clear out the rubbish and allow Amorim the time and the resources to rebuild the team, because unfortunately they've now found themselves at the end of the cycle where this is what needs to happen. We've seen all the big clubs doing it, and even we have, to a degree. We've been through it, even though we've been stuck in mediocrity for the best part of the last 20 years minus the last 4. And it's one of these things, and they're going to have to be boxing very clever in the summer, because, like we say, it's been made perfectly clear that the money is a problem, and that at the moment, that plays into our hands, because our squad is good. We've got a lot of good players in the squad, and arguably our midfield should batter theirs on Sunday, and I'm sure we'll get to that. And like I say, fair credit to Man United fans for sticking with Amorim and getting behind him, because in the past they haven't done it.
Yeah, well, let's get to that now, Matty. The Newcastle side. Well, obviously, again, a big caveat is that we're doing this before Eddie Howe's press conference, so we don't know exactly what's happening with some players. But we saw Harvey Barnes again start against Leicester. He got a goal, and he played pretty well. He's been doing well since he's came in, covering for Gordon. We're not expecting Gordon back. I don't think he's trained. There's been no images of him. So is it for you? Keep going and doing what Harvey Barnes has been doing and keep him on that left-hand side with Murphy on the right, who, he's undroppable. Who would have thought we'd be saying that at the beginning of the season, but an undroppable Jacob Murphy, who I think I saw the stats, it's only Isak and Mo Salah who's had more goal involvements this season past Jacob Murphy. So, why not? And then obviously Isak up front, provided he's fit, which didn't look too great on Monday night, but that could just be fatigue. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Alexander Isak for the main point that, he looked exactly the same throughout. I think he's a bit of an enigma sometimes in terms of the figure that he cuts on the pitch. Sometimes he could hobble. He looks like he's hobbling about when really he's just choosing his moment to do that press. And I think he was exactly the same up until the, whatever it was, 75th minute when we took him off. I think Eddie Howe was keeping him on as long as he was comfortable. Just so he could get some goals maybe. And I just think it wasn't his night. He wasn't getting involved as much. He had a couple of runs, but I think, just not to cart back onto the Leicester performance a little bit. I don't think anyone had a brilliant game that day. I think it was a strange performance where, like you said, Scott, we didn't get out of first gear at all. And we didn't have to. Obviously it was dead and buried by the half time. And hopefully we can go up the gears a bit more on Sunday because we have to. And I think that's when we'll hopefully see, if the positives through not having to do much effort against Leicester. So yeah, I mean, Harvey Barnes, to answer your question, I mean, there's no one else we can really play there, other than if Joe Willock's passed his concussion, you could maybe put Joe Linton there and do the.
I think he's still out. I think it's a 10-day thing for concussions. So he's still out.
So there you go. The options are pretty thin. So yeah, it'll be Harvey Barnes. I mean, we talk about the left side. We were so scared about that going into the Liverpool game, and it's actually been the highlight of not just that performance, but the games after it as well. To see Tino get to the byline and use his left foot again, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't know if you guys have discussed this previously, but I think that was very much part of Eddie Howe keeping his powder dry when he's been quoted, amongst other things. To see Tino being able to use his left foot, it's really encouraging, and it gives whoever's going to be coming up against him something to think about, whether he goes back inside or that Harvey Barnes can do underlaps, overlaps. It sort of gives us a bit of a better dynamic on the left hand side. But in terms of the full squad, I think it just picks itself. It'll be the same team as Leicester, hopefully, barring no last minute problems. And hopefully we've got them, like Daryl said, beat in the middle of the park. But I do think Bruno Fernandes is looking a bit more rejuvenated. He's taking games by the scruff of the neck a lot. So whether we try something a bit special to nullify him, I'm not too sure. I'm sure Eddie Howe's thinking about that as much as we are. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Harvey Barnes will definitely start on the left, and hopefully we'll see him continue his good form.
That's something special. It's probably going to be how Dan Burn gets his yellow card.
Yeah, we might do that Arsenal thing where one of the centre halves just comes flying in. And
I actually think that'll be what it is, to be honest, because we like doing that with number 10s now, don't we? Where they just fly out and meet them. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see if there is any change. Maybe we'll switch to the same tactics we enforced against Arsenal in the cup. Whether it's the back 5/3 or the hybrid roles that we did with the two wing backs. But again, we'll see what happens. I don't know if we need to do that against Man U at the moment. It's going to be very much maybe horses for courses in terms of what we've seen up to now with Newcastle. Daryl, mate, let's turn our attentions to the man in the middle and his VAR assistant. Let's have ref watch. Who are the people in charge this week?
Right. So, man in the middle for this one is going to be Chris Kavanagh, and it's going to be his fourth Newcastle game of the season. That comes after the 2-1 away win at Wolves, the 2-1 win, the 2-0 win against Chelsea on our way to getting that trophy there. For those who are watching, that one up there.
Newcastle win a trophy?
Yes, believe it or not. Crazy. And then he also refereed the 2-1 loss against Fulham at St James's Park as well. He's also been seen this season on VAR duty for games against Southampton at home, Everton away, West Ham at home, Spurs away, And also very recent, well, not very recently, but also the reverse fixture at Southampton earlier this year. Out of those games is 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. His stats for this season, he's got 20 games played. That's the joint 3rd most games officiated alongside Simon Hooper, and they are behind Anthony Taylor, who's done the most on 24, and our very own Michael Oliver, who's 2nd on 22 games refereed. So 20 of those games this season, 106 yellow cards and 4 reds, and he's awarded 3 penalties in the Premier League this season. Man in the middle, well, not a man in the middle, but the man watching the telly, the VAR official for this one, is Peter Banks. He's most recently been seen last week refereeing the Brentford game, and then that was after losses to Fulham, which was 3-1 away, and Brighton, which was the 1-0 loss at St James's. He's also previously been VAR official for the loss to Bournemouth, which was the 4-1, and the win against Nottingham Forest, which was a 4-3. So there's lots of goals in the games that he's been the VAR official for. And also I have to mention that this weekend sees the debut of semi-automated offsides in the Premier League.
Does it?
So the iPhones are out. The iPhones are out in the stadium.
Can't
so
wait for it not to work.
Yeah, it's going to take 5 minutes.
It is. It's going to take forever. But yeah, so we're going to see that for the first time. So in theory, it'll be quicker. But you know what technology's like.
Old Ange will be over the moon of that, won't he?
Wasn't the reason that this was meant to be from the beginning of the season? No, that's what I think I remember reading. It was meant to be automated. Can't wait to have it in because we had it in the Champions League last season, and it was bang done. Because I remember we waited for ages for that Dan Burn goal, didn't we? And it was like they were looking at fouls and handballs, but the offside on straight away. And I remember thinking, oh God, it's going to be class when we get that in the Premier League. And then it was because they outsource it to a company who actually didn't have the capacity to do it, or they didn't have the technology capabilities or something.
Yeah, so this is a bespoke system because Adidas own the patent for the chip in the ball. So we can't use the same system that they use in the Champions League because Adidas don't supply the Premier League its footballs.
What?
So it's proper mental when you dig into it. And
we've had to go. Football.
Well, exactly. So we've got to go because we're using. Who is it? We're using Puma at the minute. Is it Puma or Nike? Anyway,
Nike
supplying
a throwback ball, isn't it?
Yeah. So because we're using Nike supplied balls, we have to go and outsource to a bespoke system, which uses a lot of iPhones apparently in the grounds to monitor all this stuff. And it's taken them quite a while. I think they have been testing it since the start of the season. And then we saw it sort of briefly introduced in the FA Cup because it was used in the last round that we were part of when we lost to Brighton. And it's finally now ready. And having spoken to, he has a name drop for you, having spoken to Howard Webb this season, he was dying to get this. He was dying to get this brought in much earlier than what they've eventually been able to do. I mean, we're talking. I probably saw him in January, and he was trying to get it sorted for the international break then, or an FA Cup break or something like that. So it's taken them a while. So I'm praying to God it works and it works well because it seems like it could be a big waste of money if it doesn't.
It's a Ref Watch name drop.
Webby.
Oh, cool. Howard Webb on Ref Watch, and not on Sky once. Sky, you heard it here first on Gallowgate. An exclusive, a world exclusive. Don't forget, Kristen, Howard, a special graphic for it. Let's turn our attentions to our predictions. Where's Howard Webb? What's his prediction? We'll get him to do one as well. Because of that, Daryl, because of that name drop, I'm coming to you first. What's your prediction for this, mate?
I am going to predict a 2-1 Newcastle win. I feel like Man United will probably have a goal in them. Is it gone through or not? Because I am speaking.
Yes.
Got you.
No? Yeah? Swearing? 2-1?
2-1, okay. We'll let him catch up before we continue.
Yeah, so 2-1. Isaac on the score sheet and Harvey Barnes.
Isaac and Harvey Barnes, nice one. Matty, mate, what are you going for?
Really tough one, this. Since the cup final, you would obviously, it's even turned my pessimistic heart just jubilant, and I'm just think we're the best thing in the world. Like, I'm just
lovely to see.
And it's sort of like
we are.
I'm going into every game just to sort of just go, before I get I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to my prediction, but just to sort of hint on the point that Andy made at the top of the podcast, where and I'm glad that I'm not really in the cesspit that is Twitter. I do dip my toe on Instagram, but you don't really see many. You can keep away from people's opinions on that. To say that if we don't get Champions League football this season, it's a bit of a disappointment, or if not a failure. I just think that's just the most berserk opinion I've ever heard in my life. I think the lads on Always Smiling Faces said that it's a 99.9 out of 100 now, and if we get anything more than Conference League football, you get your 100, because we've just solidified it by making history. I get people will be massively disappointed because we're really I forgot that we're in the sort of the real mix. We're not just on the outskirts, we're in the heart. We're technically favourites to get a Champions League place. It's just whether our squad can hold out, and if we can win the games we're meant to win. It's in our hands, which is absolutely amazing. But I'm going into every game just with this full heart of just oh well, whatever. Literally whatever will be, to not sort of quote that famous song associated with Stadium Wembley, which we won at, by the way, which was, I don't know if you remember that. It was absolutely amazing. But that
was such a seamless segue to the cup.
Yeah, I'll make anything about the cup for years to come.
Yeah, we can count this, Andy.
Yeah.
But predictions wise, like I said, it's a hard one because I am being realistic, and I have been watching Man United closely recently, knowing this game was on the horizon, and I really genuinely believe they've been playing well, and they have the players that can hurt us. I think there was a couple of times in the Leicester game and the Brentford game where a couple of better players, and we might have paid for that. I just think there's this mix of, again, this game tomorrow night, Man United's attention's maybe been elsewhere, and our attention's been firmly fixed on Champions League football. It's going to make for a really good game, I think. Hopefully it's not one that drags me back into the pits of despair, and I don't think anything could right now, but I don't even want to flirt with it, but I want to say that we just edge it. I really, really, really want to say we just edge it, because we don't do draws these days. I can't remember the last time we drew. It was months ago. Yeah. Do I just copy off Daryl and go 2-1? We go 2-0 up, then we get the nervousness. Yeah, let's go with that. I'm going to go 2-0, the nervousness, the horribleness. But we'll go. Daryl, I'm just going to go with you, brother. Isak and Barnes.
Yeah,
there you go.
Why not? Why not?
Copy your homework.
There you go. Andy, mate, what are you going for?
Same. I don't think I can say much more, to be honest. I was going to say, I think you've both nailed it, to be honest. I think, Man United have looked a bit better. Every game they've been in has been quite close. Obviously, the Man City draw, they were probably the better team. The Forest game, they did pretty well, beating Sociedad over 2 legs. Great results. They got a 1-1 draw at Arsenal as well, I think. So it's not like they've been getting battered. They're all right, and the past couple of seasons, we've obviously been talking about a little bit. They've still kind of found a way, even if they are rubbish. They just have that knack, and they've still got that experience. So they're no mugs by any means. I know in recent history, other than the cup final, the first one, which didn't happen. Other than that game, we've had their number really in this period of time since Eddie Howe's come in, and certainly at home. I mean, I always just think of the game after the cup final, the whole if they won a quick game, we'll give it to them, where we showed that we were a million times away from where these were, and we obviously talked about how there's been a power shift and blah blah blah. So I just think I don't think it's going to necessarily be a game like that where we completely blow them away. I think it will be tight, and I think there is going to be tiredness and mental fatigue and stuff like that. But I think 1-0. I think it'd be similar. I think it'd be similar to what we've seen in recent weeks, where we do give teams a chance and they just decide not to put the ball in the goal. So I think that's where they'll struggle. 1-0. I have to just say Isak. We get through every single one of these previews and don't talk about Isak, who is the best player in the world. It's crazy. I fancy him to have one of those moments of magic, and he hasn't done his thumb over the shoulder celebration for a little while yet. So we'll see one of them.
Yeah, I was thinking 1-0 as well, actually. So I'm going to copy your homework, Andy. I think the other thing that we haven't talked about either is that there's going to be a war flags display to get the crowd up, which will get the players up as well on Sunday. They've already put a little teaser up of gold and black flags.
Just need to say every time what an organisation, what An absolute
absolutely.
brilliant group of lads. Like, just they never fail to admit that one. I was nearly crying at the one at the Brentford game, and
I was crying.
The banner on the east stand. Oh my god! Like, it was absolutely class, and I don't think they'll ever run out of ideas, and they just graft their asses off. And I don't know if any of them watch this, but well done, lads! Like, constantly, like, just
well played.
so good. So yeah, I look forward to that.
It's on Tuesday, so I mean it's Wednesday time of recording, and by the time you're watching this, it'll be Thursday or Friday, depending on if you're a member or not. We'll talk about that later. So they've been grafting all week to put this out, so something's special is a brewing, and it'll only get the players riled up for this. If not that they're going to need it, they know what's at stake. So yeah, but I think Man U were like we've said all throughout this, they're no mugs. They're going to be tired, I think, off the midweek game, but they're going to have it in them to hold their own. But I think we're just going to have that little bit more. But I'll go for 1-0 win. I'm going to go Jacob Murphy again.
Yes.
I just think he's on the ball.
Yes.
I think he's playing with confidence, and that's what Jacob Murphy is. He's a confidence-based player, and he's oozing with it at the minute. He's won a cup with his boyhood club. He's scoring goals. He's assisting goals. He's up there with the best of them at the minute in the league, and he's only going to build on that. So Jacob Murphy.
You could almost say that he's juicy if he's oozing with class and confidence.
I wasn't going to say that, but you can. Right then, that's about wraps it up for us. If you've been watching this and you're still watching, let us know in the comments below what you think, how you think the game's going to go, what your prediction is. Let us know if you're a Man U fan. Let us know how you feel your season's gone. What do you think of your current manager? What do you think of your current owner? What do you think of the whole Dan Ashworth scenario? How did you feel about that waste of money? Because let's face it, that's what it was. Spent more on him getting them in and getting rid of them than I think he did any use for you. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to, you can like this video while you're down there. That's not just the Man U fans, that's anybody watching. And if you want to be a subscriber, you can just hit the subscribe button. While you do that, if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified of any new videos that go live on this channel. And if you want to go one step further, we do have that membership program I was telling you about. It's $2.99 a month. That'll get you early access to videos like this one, as well as exclusive content throughout the season and access to our Telegram group as well. Boys, does anybody want to add anything before I wrap this one up for the evening? Matty's leaned forward. What do you want to say, Matty?
What are the odds, all right, on Fabian Schär trying it again?
Oh, I hope he does.
Every game for the rest of the season.
Onana's in the press.
On the line, apparently.
He's not going to be the one pressing. I mean, he's in the papers. Onana's in the papers.
Yeah.
He just sees him and he just goes for it again. I'm not saying it's going to go in, but I just... God, I wish that had gone in. Why did it
Incidentally, we had the comment on Fabian Schär's Instagram from Andy Carroll, didn't we? Slating Bruce.
I was just about to say that. No, is that sorry, Andy, is that the legendary Andy Carroll, is it? Who now plays in the second tier of French football, is it? But he hasn't got 1,050 games in management, though, has he?
More money a week than he's getting paid to play for that team.
My God. Everything that needed to be said has been said about that situation, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see... and by the way, I wasn't actually... If everyone didn't realise I was being Steve Bruce there, I absolutely love Andy Carroll. But, if Steve Bruce... Someone's going to mention that Steve Bruce, surely. And I just love the fact that Fabian Schär was just zip emoji on the mouth. I'm not saying anything. Absolutely class. Love that.
Steve Bruce will probably just come up with someone saying, I made Fabian Schär. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I told him to start shooting from distance.
Well, I mean, he did want to play in centre midfield, didn't he? He'll take credit for that. What we need then is he scores from the halfway line and he does the zip your mouth celebration.
Or just goes and sits on the bench.
Yeah, that would be great.
A boy can dream.
God, you really are confident now, aren't you?
He's only predicted 2-1. Anyway.
Right. That's all from me, anyway.
Well, there we go. Well, on that absolute bombshell, I think we should leave it there. Thanks everybody for watching, lads. Thanks for joining us. I enjoy my Wednesday nights chatting to you boys. We will see us all in the next one. What's it? Palace next. That's coming thick and fast.
Palace next, yeah.
Will be.
Soon, quick shot after that Man U game. So we will see you in that one. And yeah, have fun at the match if you're going. Enjoy it on the telly if you're not. And we will see us all in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Wave.
Bye.
Bye.